Hey there, Adrienne Elise here. Welcome to the Gaia Daily for October 7th through 10th, 2022. Well, we're coming up on a very powerful Aries new full moon this weekend on Sunday, and that is happening in the afternoon in Mountain Time in the US. And so look out for an activation. The information to sign up is in the information box below for an activation at will be at 11 a.m. Mountain Time on Sunday. This full moon, the reason why it's so intense and we're feeling the energy already is because it happens so close to Chiron. So this full moon happens at 16 degrees Aries and 33 minutes. Now, that's interesting because 33 is a number that has been associated with this control energy that's been over humanity that we didn't even realize how much we've been controlled for hundreds, thousands of years. And 6 and 1, 16 degrees makes 7, and 7 is a number of dramatic change. So this is the energy of these times, and of course, we've been feeling it. So the Aries energy with Jupiter in Aries, Jupiter has now retrograded back to 2 degrees Aries. And that means it's coming back into the second after this, right after this full moon, Mercury, Jupiter will come into its third and final opposition with Mercury. This whole season for the last 2 months has been about this Aries Libra axis with Jupiter in Aries and Mercury retrograde in Libra. And then all of the personal planets taking their turn in this opposition with Jupiter. So we're in a quandary over how we keep our peace and yet still claim our power and freedom. And everything is saying that it's time for us to work together and come together. Because this Aries full moon is the last lunation before the eclipse season. So basically, it's the beginning of eclipse season. That's probably why we're feeling so intense too. We will have a partial solar eclipse on Thursday, October 25th. Excuse me, Tuesday, October 25th. And that will happen at 2 degrees Scorpio, 00 minutes. Exactly 2 degrees. Now, that's if that's not enough, it's like that's just after um, Venus and Mercury together move over into the sign of Scorpio on the 23rd. So, wow, because we've got the Sun and Venus together. Now we're already feeling this. The Sun and Venus are coming closer and closer together. Venus is catching up to the Sun, and they will um they don't come together exact until the 21st through the 24th of October, but we're already starting to feel them coming close together next week. They stay quite close together for about 3 full weeks. So Venus and the Sun together through all of this, but in Scorpio. And so the Venus and the Sun come together in Libra, and then we'll move over together into Scorpio, heading right into that total or partial solar eclipse, which means the sun and the moon will be right there together with Venus in Scorpio for that full moon. Excuse me, for that partial solar eclipse that's on October 25th. So, wow, 2 degrees Scorpio. And then that means that the sun and Venus are going to head into a conjunction, one after the other, right at the beginning of November. um, I believe, with the north. No, let's see. Yes, the beginning of November. No, Venus will come up to the south node, and on November 6th, the sun will come up to the south node. And so the south node in Scorpio has been kind of behind the scenes. We haven't had it hugely activated. We haven't had a lot of Scorpio energy. And so, of course, whenever the nodes are triggered, the south node, but it's just kind of lingering over there, just kind of how Scorpio energy can. But Scorpio is also about diving deep and going into the truth and the depth of the matter. And this is something that we humanity is at a place where it's really seems that it's like we have some very inconvenient, uncomfortable truths that we need to face that they're not going anywhere. We thought they were conspiracy, but they're true. And so now we have to face these, but most humans, it's just really so much easier to keep your head in the sand. And but there comes a point where that's not going to be possible. And the energy for that is with this next couple of months of astrology. We're definitely entering in a season of disclosure. It's powerful, again, the message of coming to endings and beginnings. This Aries full moon sending us into eclipse season, sending us into a disclosure season. Um, and it's also the sun for this full moon. The sun is coming into a trine with Saturn, an air trine. The sun in Libra, and the Saturn in Aquarius. So this air trine energy is really harmonizing this whole thing. And it's connecting together the Saturn square Uranus and the Chiron moon conjunction. And this whole kind of set of astrology. And so let's talk this through. The sun is who we think we are. And in Libra, it's about trying to come into a balance, into a harmony, into a peace, into a place of equilibrium in our heart and soul, mind, and right and left, and feminine and masculine, our relationship with ourself and the other coming into perfect balance. And so it's weird because in a way, it makes me think of like Libra, the sun in Libra is kind of our true natural state before we got so messed with, like when we had our full capacity and our DNA, God code all hooked up and we had our right and left brain thinking and all this. And so but now it's at odds. The energy of Libra is also at odds with our freedom that we're seeking and our taking back our life and our life force because we got too complacent in everywhere in our life. And I say everyone, but especially supernova souls, right? It's like your time has come, but it's been so long that you've had to hide in the shadows and pretend you're not who you are and compensate your life away to the people around you. But the Jupiter in Aries that started last spring is not going to let us do that. And so there's just a lot here going on. And so the sun um, in Libra, in trine to Saturn, though, is a beautiful air trine with Saturn and Aquarius. And it's speaking specifically to supernova souls around our role in the Aquarian age. That it's really time to step up. And that role is exactly coming into who we were before we got so messed with. Coming back, remembering, activating into our God code DNA and activating into our higher power. It's happening. Nothing can stop it. And yet, the astrology with all these intense squares right now, energy is like a feeling of like, it's like a chokehold and like you're never going to get anywhere. But this sun trine Saturn is like, it's time to move into a new chapter, you guys. Like, we got to get to work on the next thing. We've got to figure out what it is we're here to do because this is just dissolving and falling apart. And so that sun trine Saturn is totally harmonizing the Saturn square Uranus, Saturn in Aquarius square Uranus in Taurus. Now, this is fixed signs in square, and it's the energy of it seems to be about it's stuck structures that have not been able to shift and change, even though we've gone through all these energetic changes. And it's really powerful to look at the timeline of this because the very first Saturn square Uranus, we've had four of them. And typically you only have three transits, sometimes two. So the way these planets retrograde in their cycles together, it's been like, ooh, and so, but Saturn is turning direct on the same day that Venus and the Sun come together on the 23rd of October. And so that means that Saturn's on his way, and there's not going to be another Saturn Uranus square in this cycle. So October 23rd is a huge turning point. And that is, like we said, Sun and Venus moving into Scorpio, Saturn direct, and just careening into that partial solar eclipse at 2 degrees Scorpio. And so, but it's all about the Saturn square Uranus right now because it's been exact from the 2nd to the 12th. Now, the very first time this happened was in February 2021, and the influence of it started in January, pretty much the very beginning, right? Like moving to 2021, it's like bam, Saturn square Uranus. Some shit is stuck and something needs to give, but it won't. We got to figure out like what it's just this gridlock feeling of Uranus trying to bring higher frequency vibrations, the ruler of Aquarius, in Taurus, physical form, the earth, our value system, our money. So it's an activation of our internal treasures, but also our a new way of conceiving value and wealth in our world, a new financial system. And then Saturn, though, in Aquarius is because it's in square and because it's Saturn, Saturn is like, Saturn rules our true dharma and then what's in the way of our. And there's this kind of story of Saturn being it's like a father energy that holds timelines in place, but then hijacked by these same forces we're talking about that have been controlling humanity. So then Saturn became an obstacle energy. And so Saturn rules both our true path and what's in the way of our true path or what's been working against us or feels like it's working against us. So Saturn transits, especially squares, typically have this feeling of like, can't go, stuck. Oh no, you don't. You thought you were going this way. You got to go this way. It's like, and then Uranus is trying to bring this ringing the bell, this higher vibrational frequency. And but the tension around this is like, okay, so why aren't we coming into our new wealth? Why aren't we coming into our potential? Why aren't we having this financial shift, this value shift that's on the table for humanity? And Saturn in Aquarius is saying exactly because of this hijacking of Saturn. The last Aquarian age appears to be happened in Atlantean time when we were really flourishing in higher technology. Technology we have, but they won't tell us about it. It's in our cell phones. It's injected into our bodies. And they won't let us know that it actually exists. And as long as we don't know about this technology, it can be used against us. But we're coming to that 0 point place where everything is erasing each other. And everything is like tunneling into a place where everything that's bad is like boomerangs back to good because it's like we're bending our reality back to, uh, it's like that distortion of darkness and our humanity being like, "Oh, it's just the way it is." It's like, that's run its course. We're like, "Oh, no, no, no. It's not how it is. It's not who we are. It's not our energy. It's not what we want. It's not true to us on any level. In fact, it's total poison. It's called healthcare, but it's actually health poison." And it's like everything is upside down and backwards, and we put up with it for long enough, haven't we? Supernova souls? Okay, so this is the energy, woo, and it all started with the whole turning light, calling the light bad and the light dark and the dark light and the healing, um, evil and the evil good, right? In the Piscean age. So all of this is on the table because Jupiter's about to move back into Pisces at the end of October. So it's like, so going on this, checking out this timeline that is this chapter that we're in, it started back in the beginning of 2021 when things started to I mean, things were weird in 2020, but we didn't know the extent to the weirdness, right? It was like, oh, we're going to get through this, figure it out. In 2021, that was when the control really took hold. And the continued control lockdown type of energy almost deliberately because of these new energies that are blooming and awakening on the earth. And that whole story we just went through was literally about trying to stop this spiritual awakening that's naturally happening. And it didn't work. And so now we are in the fallout phase. And so, what happened in your life in January of 2021? Because now we're coming to the end of this story. So we're in the final fourth square, right? Um, and so these squares are when Saturn turns direct. Okay, so it's exactly square till the 12th, but we're going to be feeling that square all the way through into December. So we're going to be feeling the energy of this. But when Saturn turns direct, like I said, on the 23rd of October, it's kind of like game over. We're going, it's like our energy is not there. It's moving into a new direction. So that whatever started for you in January 2021, December 2020, now we're coming to an end game of that. But it really is going to stretch out through December, because we're in such a strange time, because we've got eclipse season. So we've got this partial solar eclipse, 2 degrees Scorpio on the 25th, right with Venus, and Venus and the sun having just moved over into Scorpio together. Saturn turning direct, all right then. Then we've got a um then that starts this whole pattern where um the end of October is super intense because we've got Jupiter going back over the Aries point back into Pisces on the 29th, 28th, 29th. Then on the 30th starts Black Moon Lilith in trine to Neptune. So that's really interesting because we've got all these intense square energies. And here comes a very powerful trine that's going to last for quite a while. Um, and then Mars turns retrograde on the 31st of October. So let's talk about Mars because Mars retrograde, oh, we're feeling this too. And it's crazy because it's like Saturn square Uranus, we're in it right now. And it's just like, oh, gridlock. And I've had enough and I'm not buying it anymore. And I'm not going to go along with your BS reality, right? Because this is all this Jupiter and Aries activation, but then now Jupiter retrograde, going back into Pisces. And so, um, that so Mars is now just as this lets up the Saturn square Uranus, whew, Mars comes into square with Neptune. And it's like, oh gosh, because this Mars square Neptune, it's like it happens right before it turns direct and then right after it turns direct. So it happens from the 11th through the 15th exact. So we're coming up on this one next week, starting at the just after this full moon. And then it'll come back in November from the 19th to the 22nd, kind of gearing up into that whole energy of the end of or kind of that's the completion of eclipse season and stuff. And it'll happen again when it comes out of retrograde, or it won't go all the way into square, but they'll kind of get close in square one more time in January. So Mars square Neptune is huge, but it's very different. And so for the last couple of months, we've been feeling all of those planets that oppose Jupiter also oppose Neptune at the end degrees of Pisces, or it's been at 23 degrees Pisces, 24 Pisces. Now it's at 23. And so um, the first Mars square Neptune will be at 23 degrees, and then they will retrograde, and the next time will be at 22 degrees. So really powerful numbers here. And the we've had all of these Mercury 3 times opposing Neptune, the sun, and Venus, and moving through, and everybody interacting in these oppositions with Neptune. That's been for the last like month, 6 weeks, just constant. Or when was the first don't have it right in front of me, but so now that's lighting off. And this has been like Mercury's our regular everyday mind conceptual reality, but retrograde, it's about rethinking things. And Neptune is like the bigger collective consciousness. And it's like our connection to oneness and spirituality, but also the programming that can use our collective consciousness to control humanity. And so it rules like delusions and illusions. And that was the whole thing with the Piscean Age. The Piscean Age was reset after reset, trying to keep humans from evolving any further. And we're going to learn about this. And it's like really wild because more recently than we realized, we had access to this free energy in a way more evolved society. It's like, give it back now. This has gone on long enough. And they're never just going to stop and be like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry, we kept you as slaves and fed off you and, you know, manipulated your DNA for all this time. Oh, yeah, sure, we'll stop now. We have to stand up and say no more. This is what's happening in our relationships everywhere in life right now. And this is the Jupiter and Aries. And it's like now it's in this weird convoluted thing because Jupiter's going back into Pisces at the end of October. And so we have to go back into that mess. And then Mars is square Neptune for the whole time. So Mars square Neptune, because it hits in October here and then it hits in November, the whole time it's going to stay close and square. So the square doesn't really go away. That means we're going to feel Mars square Neptune for 2 full months. Basically, we started feeling it at the beginning of October and through the end of November. But it's different than the oppositions with Mercury and that have been going on and the oppositions with Sun and Venus, because that's kind of like facing off and Mercury in Neptune oppositions, like total confusion. I can't figure out what's up from down. And that's a lot of what energy was going on for this last couple of years, just like totally gaslit to the point where nothing makes sense and so off that we just have to shut down our whole psyche to just get through like our experience. But Mars square Neptune is different because Mars, first of all, is our warrior and it's just like action wants to go. And in Gemini, it's about the truth, right? So we're being called to speak truth to delusion and be like, for this time, we haven't been able to, right? You don't even want to go there. Don't poke the bear. But now it's kinda like what's happening is people are starting to go they don't wanna admit it, but you might find yourself there with people, and you might have to be like, "Oh, yeah, you might wanna check out the fact that da 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 da," and, some sort of information that, you would never been able to share before. And Mars, because Mars square Neptune is fed up, like this. First of all, he's slowing down for a retrograde, which he hates because he's all about movement, right? And then he's like super slowed down because it's a square with Neptune. And, but it's like pressure to speak truth and held back pressure versus the delusions of the Piscean age. And so this is a different energy. It's not about just being in the delusion. It's about speaking truth to delusion and breaking through the delusion and pushing up against that ice wall or whatever our quarantine is. And so, but it goes on for so long. And then Mars doesn't turn retrograde till October 31st. It's like a very interesting Halloween this year with all of these energies, and then won't turn direct until January. And Mars will come out of retrograde shadow. I mean, will go direct January 12th and then come out of retrograde shadow. Get this, mid-March 2023, which is all the planets will be direct at that point. And there's a little window of like around spring equinox from mid March to the through the first week of April, that's like really awesome energy. Um, so but then we've got a Mercury retrograde after that. So Ides of March is when Mars comes out of retrograde shadow. And so um I guess, yeah, so just to that's our timeline, and to me it's kind of like we're gonna be having, just the pressure is on for disclosure. The truth can't stay hiding anymore, whether the corporate media is going to get on board or not, like the truth's going to get out there. And so it's a very interesting time. And so let's make this Mars square Neptune work for us. Find our voice, find our strength, find our truth, because the Neptune also represents our connection and our permission to direct connection to God. That was all the delusions of the Piscean age. That's what they were all about. was, and everybody, I've seen so many past like pictures of people teaching people and or preaching or, sharing around how to directly connect to source and God. And those people were, that's who the witches were. And the heretics, or whichever wrong side you were on of the Catholics and the Protestants, it was that you weren't taking a side. And so it's like this attack on our direct connection to connect with source. Now it's happening biologically, with DNA corruption to invite us into being a cyborg human hybrid. And so we're at a very strange point, and it's been a very strange time this whole time, all the way back to Atlantean time when this whole story started. And then, of course, this last couple of years. And it's like having to have this exposed and really face what has gone on. It's just not pretty. It's just like this huge mountain we've got to get over. And it seems that these next few months of astrology are speaking to that. For supernova souls, though, that Mars square Neptune also is about you claiming back that direct connection to source, your spirituality, your power that you came in with that you just wanted to share on your soapbox before they took you away, you know? And so we've got to come back into our spiritual voice. And that is the initiation. For supernova souls, we got this Mars retrograde as a powerful initiation, a remembering, kind of literally journeying into the Akashic records and past lives, and just like taking back our treasures, our actual treasures, like technology devices that we've fully used before. Um, but then we bought into that story that it was our technology that created the catastrophes in Atlantean time, and then it was over. So everything has been trying to silence. So much has gone into trying to silence the truth, because if we knew our true history, then we'd know we had free energy, and then we wouldn't be able to be kept as slaves. And so it's like we're just right here and there's nowhere else to go. Too many people know that this technology fully exists. And then we're having a war over oil. F you, right? Like, come on. How stupid do you think we are? Like another slap in the face, you know? So this is the energy of these times. Now let's talk about this. So the Black Moon Lilith energies are interesting, and we've been feeling Black Moon Lilith in sextile to Uranus. They're still in sextile, bringing creative solutions to facing our dark wounds over our separation from the mother, from source, and feeling safe and held and loved in this experience, which is difficult with these type of demonic controllers. So now at the end of October, but we're going to be feeling it starting in a couple days here on the 12th. Next week, we'll start feeling Black Moon Lilith in trine to Neptune. And so, wow, because we've got this like Mars square Neptune, right? Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, one sign over from Mars, which is a semi sextile. It's 30 degrees, and that can be really a great energy too, um, of working together across the lines. And the Black Moon Lilith trine Neptune brings, I don't know, it's almost like, how it's making me think of supercomputers and how everything can be figured out down to all the probabilities of certain things. But then there's a factor you cannot factor in. Of course, if we're cyborgs, you can, of course, fully factor in all the factors. But you can't factor in that X factor, the God code, the humanness of us. And that's kind of what this Black Moon Lilith trine Neptune is. It's like whew, just slipping through back into that magic and mystery of what the Piscean Age was really supposed to be about. Like, so we've got a golden age coming, and we've got a mystical, magical revelation age coming too. And because we've got to make up for this, we've got to grab onto that, the beautiful energy of the Piscean age. And Black Moon Lilith, it's like saying, it's this beautiful invitation back into that connection with the mother and source, and harmonizing the Mars square Neptune and making it way more dynamic. and bringing up the feminine element, because when we're talking about speaking the truth, what's been so suppressed throughout time, which is the feminine, as far as like in the Piscean age, all of the books that were taken out of the Bible, any feminine influence teachings, the occult teachings of like the mysteries, ancient mysteries of astrology and the tarot cards and things like that. That all is the feminine arts, the feminine form. That it was like a counterpart to the Western uh, and the other teachings that came through. So it's just kind of metaphorically interesting because as this age really took hold, it was a severing off of the feminine and a burying of the scrolls and a taking away of any comfort for these souls that have been carrying this spiritual light on earth. And then to the point of hunting them down, making them disperse. And now it's time to come back together and get back to where we were. Throughout time, I've seen these beautiful pictures of past lives of supernova souls working, doing these amazing things, um, and like planting seeds for this time. You planted all these seeds throughout we have to stop looking at our life as this life. We have to look at our life as our time in this earth evolution, because that's another way they controlled us is shortening our lifespan. So that's like harder and harder to get back to God while you're in consciousness in a body. And so we've got to claim this connection. And everything is about this. And once we do, see those teachers that got persecuted that we're talking about the direct connection to God, then it's like, oh, I don't feel scared. Um, and then I feel held, I feel connected, I feel spiritual, I feel like there's connected to a greater whole. Those people are not easy to control. So we don't want any of that. We don't want any healing where you feel the power of the body healing itself. And then you never doubt your body again. This is the power they've been keeping us from, and we're going to claim it. So, that Black Moon Lilith in Cancer, trine Neptune, it's kind of like this is our time to reclaim the magic of the Piscean age and release those wounds around where we don't feel loved and we don't feel supported, because that was just the paradigm. That was the plan, right? These supernova souls are so sensitive. And if you've had anything like this happen in a past life, which most supernova souls have, it's hard not to take it personally because you're so aware to begin with. And then you're so sensitive. And then it's like we can carry that. That's what they wanted us to do. Carry the shame and the low self-worth and like the energy with us and take it personally that we were attacked. And it's like, no, anybody who was trying to bring any soul that was trying to be in the light of the truth of who they are in their technology and in their light and their healing and love and truth, any soul doing that would have been attacked. So it's nothing personal against you. It's actually validation. And so it's a major turnaround moment, but it's going to take 3 months, I guess, 4 months, 5 months. And that is why we know we're getting that message that it's like, with Mars retrograde, not a time to really move forward, which kind of makes sense. If we've got to deal with these truths, it's like we're talking all about moving into the new age, but it's like until we can pull our head out of the sand and face how wrong we let those wrongs get, we want to right the wrongs. This is who we are. And then everybody around us has been like, what's your problem? Why do you care so much? You're so sensitive, you know? And it's like, um, mm-mm. Like I am not gonna play your way anymore because it's wrong. We're gonna do it right. Well, we can't right the wrongs until we face how wrong we let it get. This is the big hump for humanity, is having to face how wrong we let the wrongs get. How do we deserve a right world again? You know? Ugh. So it's weird though, because there's so much dark and I mean, we're on the brink of nuclear war. It's like all this stuff's happening, the banks are crashing and all this, but it's weird because the energy is feeling so much lighter and so much better. Like we've been released from some hold. Are you feeling that? So don't let the outer reality dictate your mood, please. This is our whole problem. It's like we have been so manipulated from outside sources, constantly triggered. If you understood like the psychological programs that are set up in every city to mess with people like you and me, us, like, and just people in general, and so programs, and it's like we have to take back our psyche, our body, our mind, our energy, our emotions, and recognize that a lot of the emotional stuff we've been dealing with is like a constant trigger to keep us in that state, because we come to this realization that the nanite technology builds up in the area of the brain that holds trauma memories. And so, and if you look back to all of any brainwashing or control mind control programs, um, it's about triggering emotional responses in order to control the person. So we have to take charge of our chemistry, our body on a cellular level, and be like, you're not yanking my chain anymore. Any of you. Because it's like it works through everyone around. These energies can work through anybody right now because there's so many unconscious people who are being, so on the other hand, though, the energy, it's lighter and better and freer than it's been in years. So be there, be in that energy, and know that, yeah, we've got to get over this hump, but this is what you came for. You've got all of these amazing gifts and skills to harmonize this disclosure chapter, and the only way that we get to move forward on any level. And so just know that you're being prepared for a very powerful role of that person who's like, it's okay. I kind of understand this a little bit. Let me explain. It's a way bigger picture. No, don't, it's not as bad as you think, you know? And, being able to comfort people through these changes, and just, like, it's gonna be so empowering for you, Supernova Soul, to be like, "Oh, yeah, I'm a badass," you know? They wanted you to think that you are just weak and wrong and bad and shameful, and you use your power in the wrong way, and you hurt all these people, and you created all the wars and the catastrophes. Oh, no, that wasn't you. It was a setup. So now we're going to clear all of this with Jupiter moving back into Pisces, and that happens on the 29th. So really powerful energies. Again, a very crazy astrological situation. So let's keep in touch and keep on this stuff, because it's a super incredible dynamic time. One of the things that's really beautiful for this full moon is that Mercury is in trine to Pluto, and Mercury's been in trine to Pluto for since the end of September, and will be in trine through this weekend through the full moon. Now, it's really sweet because on the full moon, the same day as the full moon on the 9th, Pluto turns direct. So this will be our all of the planets have been retrograde, right? And Mars in retrograde shadow, and Mercury just came out, and except for Venus. So now, um, Pluto is the first big planet that's to turn direct. So we're talking about this turning of the tide. It's going to take a minute to click in, right? But we're at the end, and we're starting something new. And it's really kind of cool because Mercury in trine to Pluto, Mercury just turned direct, and then it's final trine with Pluto. And it's got this, now Pluto's turning direct. And it's kind of like this thing of like, come on, let's go. Let's do it this way. Let's see. Let's just kind of go around these obstacles and barriers and not give any attention to that BS and not play any games, and just play and move forward now. So an energy of helping each other. And so it's a very powerful time to completely set ourselves free from any outside influences in our physical body, our emotional field, energetically. It's just the only way forward for supernova souls is our complete sovereignty and autonomy. So what's coming up in your life is all about that. But this trine to Pluto, Pluto is structures, power structures, and everywhere that we've given our power away and agreed made agreements and contracts to not to remember who we are, all of that. And so it's a harmonized. So Mercury direct and coming back into Libra. Now, as Mercury goes over that Libra point, 0 degrees Libra, it's that opposite of 0 degrees Aries, where Jupiter's been going over, and it represents Jupiter going over that point represents the landing home of the Christ consciousness timeline. So Mercury on the opposite, retrograding over the Libra point, which is perfect balance and perfect harmony, utopia. We're claiming our freedom so we can create our utopia that was always our utopia and was stolen from us. And we're here to lead the way because we planted those seeds and we have the vision of what's possible and we know how to make it right. So let's just get on with it. So good work, Supernova Soul. And what a strange, strange time that we're in and have been in. And it's bound to get more and more strange. It's about to get weird, I would say, over the next couple of months. But just know it's all because we're pulling back the veil to come back into that connection and oneness and a whole completely different world where there's going to be a lot of adjustments, but it's going to be so much better. Already it feels so much better for you, Supernova Soul. We did it. We won. We're here. And now mop up. So thank you so much for being with me. I hope to see you on this Aries full moon, really powerful energy with that Chiron conjunction. And that will be 11 a.m. on this Sunday, October 9th in US Mountain Time. So I look forward. The information to sign up is in the information box below. I hope you can join me. I look forward to seeing you then or on the next update. Until then, I'm Adrienne Elise. Namaste.